Solidarity is not the food, although it's good, it's the staff. The restaurant provides hands-on vocational training for young people with learning disabilities in all aspects of the food industry. In the kitchen, chefs prepare everything from salads to entrees to desserts. In the dining room, the wait staff takes care of the customers.
I learned how to take orders from clients, how to seat them, and how to behave with them. In the past, I could not do all this because I was shy, but today, I'm fine, thank God. When this restaurant opened, I learned how to talk to the clients. It is a big step for me, and I hope to do better in the future.
The restaurant, which is open 3 days a week, is run by the Hadaf Association of Parents and Friends of the Mentally Handicapped at its center in Rabat. Sefer founded the association in 1997 when her daughter turned 21 to provide psychological and educational support for other young disabled people who were often excluded from society.
We thought about this project, which is an opening to the outside world. We opened this restaurant so that people could come in and enjoy nice recipes cooked by these young people who put their hearts and souls and all that they have into their work.
In addition to giving their clients the confidence and opportunity to engage with society, they also wanted to change the way people perceived those with disabilities. And it seems to be working, according to Najat Tabsamani, who's become a regular customer.
When we came to this restaurant, we were surprised by these young men and women and how they behave with the clients. We see that they have capabilities and abilities and that they are doing very good work.
Hadaf, which means target or goal in Arabic, is achieving its goals. The association has been able to integrate 15 young people so far into outside workplaces. I'm Faith Lapidus, VOA News.
Many parents live with their children's families as they grow older. But in the United States, more people enter retirement communities designed to cater to older people's needs.
The children are so busy nowadays. So they are all the time working, taking care of their kids. So we don't want to interfere in their lives. So it is better to have independent living.
Asha Rao Rane moved directly to California from India to be closer to her family. She lives at Priya Living, a community created by Arun Paul.
In living here in America as the son of immigrants, I've realized that there's unique needs that immigrants have. I started this because I was thinking about what I could do for my parents.
A real estate developer by trade, Paul created Priya Living as an affinity living community, meaning it caters to people with similar interests, things like yoga and meditation. Residents like Uma Jindal say Priya has helped them continue living independently in a new place.
Daughter is going to work. Everybody's gone to work. You're sitting home by yourself. Here at least you are busy.
That old system was based on a different time when women were in the house, taking care of, in many cultures, their husbands' parents. And obviously, the role of women in society has changed globally.
This is a community living. All the time we are together. We are taking teas, we are having our food together, we go for a walk together. Nobody is lonely here.
We walked in and it instantly was like walking in to an Indian community in India. Even the building is painted the same color as so many of the buildings in India are painted.
In addition to daily socializing, residents say they also appreciate celebrating major Indian holidays like the Hindu Festival of Lights, Diwali.
All your customs, your festives, you feel enjoyable when you see the same festive, you remember those things.
Most residents are from India, but not all. Carlos McCann is an 89-year-old World War II veteran. A retired Marine from Arkansas, McCann had been living in the same apartment before it was converted and didn't want to leave.
Location is everything, and as the location here is the one I chose. I'm near my bank, I'm near the library, I'm near Barnes & Noble's bookstore and your Costco. Everything is sort of come together right here in this location. It's like this is the center of the world. It's the center of my world anyway.
This type of independent senior community was at first a shock to Nagendra Prasad and Manjula Kantaya, who are staying at Priya for 2 months while visiting their daughter, an intern at Google.
Really in the beginning we were surprised. In India, usually the younger people, they take care of aged people.
Our generation is older generation. We can change according to the needs of the new generation, our kids, but they cannot go backward. So we have to change ourselves first.
Residents say they have the best of both worlds. A supportive group of like-minded friends inside the community and their children and grandchildren just outside. Dina Mitchell, VOA News, Silicon Valley.
Riding on a giant 2-story ice slide seems to get people into the holiday spirit. It is part of the ice exhibit at the Gaylord National Resort near Washington, D.C. In its 9th year, this winter wonderland is kept at a chilly -13°C.
The slides are they're ice and you don't find that everywhere, and I think it's amazing that they could make a slide out of ice.
The rides are fun and popular with children and also the young at heart.
Oh, I think they're grown-ups as well, especially those of us who love to be little kids again, who never got enough of having fun. So it's great. I love it. My husband, he likes to see me happy and act like a little girl.
More than 2 million pounds of ice are used to carve out scenes from Christmas favorites like the movie Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. The 1,400 square meter indoor park is packed with colorful ice sculptures.
I think they're just blown away by these colorful sculptures. It's not something that you would typically see when you hear of ice sculptures. You think of the clear ice and you see these vibrant colors. We have 14 different colors in the show, so I think that just is like a lot of people don't believe it's real when they're walking through, so it's definitely a sight to see. And then we do end our scenes with a nativity scene, which is all crystal clear ice.
35 artisans from Harbin and Inner Mongolia, China, famous for ice and snow sculptures, traveled all the way to the US to create this exhibit. It took them more than a month.
Even though it makes me very tired, I have no complaint. After we finish ice, you look at it and you see people enjoying it. It gives me great satisfaction and I am proud in this job.
200,000 visitors are expected this year. Eunjang Cho, VOA News, Washington.
It's graduation day for these officers of the U.S. Park Police. The ceremony comes after 10 weeks of training on horseback. But like any graduation, it starts with hours of classroom work. And in this case, getting to know your four-legged partner.
The 10 weeks have been a lot of work. It's just been constant barn mucking, cleaning horses, learning new information, working with other people as part of the team. It's just been very rewarding and educating.
Officer Fallon Higgins graduated top of her class and earned all 3 of her class's top honors, as well as praise from her commanding officer.
The competition was so high, and the scoring that separated them was really in the hundredths of points. And but she earned every piece of it. I'm really, really proud of her.
Before the graduation ceremony, these horses, mostly retired and donated from the racetrack, take a few laps outside. All before showcasing some of the police tactics these horse and rider teams spent months training to perform. In the real world, these officers and horses will be called to control a crowd, but today they're called to perform for one. In attendance, U.S. Secretary of Interior Ryan Zinke.
It takes a special person to be able to get on a horse, do all the training, and participate in mounted police, but they're a great part of our law enforcement.
They're also members of an exclusive club, as this graduation ceremony usually happens only once every 2 years. Rasir Abasadi, VOA News, Washington.
Please be seated. Thank you, sir.
European leaders clash over migration at a heated EU summit as hundreds of migrants are rescued off the...
Good evening and welcome. You. Germany and Italy are among quarters in Arlington, Virginia. Hello, Carla. Tell us about this decision. Some people maybe thought, wow, was it a surprise move by the U.S. or what are we hearing from the U.S. side?
Right. Well, officials are saying that this was not a surprise to the Somali government, that the Somali government is actually on the same page as them, wanting to stop the corruption, to keep this a transparent process, because as one U.S. official told me, the U.S. does not want to give aid that's not going where it's intended to go. And we have seen documents by Reuters first reported these documents that the U.S. Sent a team with Somalis to go to different bases, about 9 different bases, and they found out that only about 2 of those actually had the aid and the large amount of food aid that they were supposed to have. They also saw that some of the commanders were kind of writing off troops that were supposed to be there that actually were not there. So they were trying to get additional aid, which never actually made it to the troops. But on the flip side, the United States points out that this is also at a time where the U.S. has increased authorities in Somalia. There are about 5...
That's VOA Pentagon correspondent Carla Babb. Now to Southern Africa, former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe. He's in Singapore for a medical checkup. This according to a former spokesman. The ousted leader was spotted leaving a Singapore medical facility on Friday. The 93-year-old Mugabe had the First Amendment.
The church into a bar. It was sold to a Muslim group for much less money, so God could still be worshipped in a house of God. And then the rehabilitation of the building started. Pews were removed, its wood used to fix the floor. Thousands of crosses on the walls were redesigned or painted over. The crosses on the spires were replaced and saved as precious reminders of the building's past.
We still need to raise some funds and replace those lights because it is a bit dark in here.
This mosque is different than others in the area because there is not a separate room or wall separating men and women. There is no designated imam or a person to call for the prayers. The idea is the mosque belongs to everyone and anyone can call for or lead the prayer. Even 14-year-old Sajjad Samir from Afghanistan.
I always practice with myself, and people in the mosque encouraged me to give azan. And I started giving azan for like a few days.
Refugees from several countries live near this mosque, but it serves a community beyond just the Muslims.
So they really do see themselves as serving the entire neighborhood, from a food pantry open to all, to picnics and summer events and other things. So they really are
wonderful in the stories we cover. During the conversation on Facebook,
they thought the Napa Valley was burning, so they canceled their trips, and that's really been the most impact for us.
Meantime, the wine is flowing and business is open, and the state's Tourism Commission is spending $2 million on ad campaigns. For VOA's BizBeat, I'm Philip Alexio. People and burned down 9,000 homes. Frank Fagoni is the owner of Fagoni's Olive Oil Company.
It's had a tremendous financial impact on us.
At Cafe La Haya, Saul Grotman says, amongst the devastation, there's still much to see and do.
Nobody should be afraid to come back and visit and see the beauty that surrounds us here.
And most of the 1,200 wineries around the region were unaffected. Chairman of Napa Valley Vintners, Michael Honig.
It was really more the impact that the fires had on people's psyche, in the sense that they thought the Napa Valley was burning, so they canceled their trips, and that's really been the most impact for us.
Meantime, the wine is flowing and business is open, and the state's Tourism Commission is spending $2 million on ad campaigns. For VOA's BizBeat, I'm Philip Alexio.
To protect crew and equipment is a delicate balance. The stakes are high with double points for leg 3. So fourth place team ExxonMobil called on ocean racing legends Alex Pella and Justin Ferris to join the team for the next leg.
For this leg,
yeah, we tried to focus on to get more heavy downwind helmsmen. So we got Justin and Alex, very well experienced guys, you know, in offshore racing, and hopefully they are just gonna give us that edge with the double points in mind to be on the podium. That's what we fight for very hard.
6 of the 7 teams have made changes to their crews, rotating in fresh talent to the ranks. All except Vestas, who was sticking with their battle-hardened team. The biggest change is on board Sung Hung Kai Scallywag, where 34-year-old Portuguese native Antonio Fontes takes over the crucial role of navigator.
It's a major opportunity for me, obviously. As Steve stepped down from the team, there was this gap, and I was the reserve sailor, so they called me to do this job. I will learn a lot. I'm learning already a lot, and it will be awesome.
Another young sailor stepping up is Dongfen Race Team's Fabian Delahaye. He got the call just hours before the start after Daryl Weissling was forced to drop out due to a back injury. Cape Town's iconic Table Mountain set the stage for Sunday's start as the 6,500 nautical mile leg to Melbourne got underway. The famed Cape Doctor, as the strong southeasterly wind is known, launched the fleet off the start line in 20 to 25 knots of wind and passed the southernmost point of Africa. Race leaders Mapfre and Dongfeng Race Team were neck and neck through the final start gate off Cape Town, leading the fleet south.
Good weather to start a new leg.
This is Goldfinger's studio, and inside there's a session in progress by a trio called Kela Suf. It's led by a singer, guitarist, songwriter, Anana Haruna.
Let's go.
From Brussels, Heather Maxwell now lands here in studio, joins me to tell us more about her time with the touring rock band Kela Suf and its new music.
Yes.
First, I like the name Kela Suf. What does that mean?
That means those with nostalgia.
Oh, like me, right?
Oh, you too, huh?
I think I got a nostalgia. So tell us a little bit how it was like being in that session, you know?
Oh, that was great. I mean, it's always great to be in a live studio session with musicians, no matter who they are almost. But this was really special because it's a new formation of that group. They used to be a bigger band, and so now they're trying a new album with just a trio.
Yeah.
So it was, I think it was their first day in the studio, and they were trying out this new sound, and it was so beautiful. And Anana, the lead singer, sings with such emotion. It was really actually very...
I was trying to, I look at them as you were talking to them, trying to figure out where are they from? They're not from the same country, right?
No, they're not. Anana, the leader, is from Niger, but when he was 12, he had to leave the country and go to Libya because of the political problems there. And then Sofiane, I believe, is from Tunisia, North Africa.
Yeah, but their music, all these people from these different countries have a certain common kind of genre of music, right? The Tuareg people.
Well, yes, the Tuareg people have this really strong tradition that crosses national borders, for sure. And the guitar, even though it's a newer instrument, as he's explaining in this interview, the guitar came in with rebellion in the 1990s and 80s and 90s, so it's a new instrument. But Tuaregs used to play another string instrument just like it, a traditional one. So they took the guitar and they play it like they play the traditional one, and it creates this beautiful sound.
And see what we can get out of the music of this guy.
This video is from their last album with the full band, and the Camel in Brussels is awesome.
Let's watch it. Let's get it.
All right.
راجع للتاج لأوروبا نهد نسان استيني ريد أكاد نسان
موبايلات لو سمحت. الجرامين ده اللي قدامك ده. ثواني. يلا بس استاذ بتاع الكاميرا معلش شغلنا يصور معلش يعني اتفضلوا. خلاص المجموعه دي ممكن بعد اذنكم بس عشان نقدر نخش.
Since taking Indian nationality 6 months ago, events organizer Lobsang Wangyal is relaxed when he travels abroad. Time-consuming exit permits and extra scrutiny at airports that Tibetan refugees routinely face are a distant memory.
You know, from the big queue, people like behind me, I'll be brought on the side and, for questioning. It looks very, it feels very strange, not nice, as if I have done something wrong or something,
Wangyal's petition in the Delhi High Court for a passport has paved the way for many Tibetans to apply for Indian citizenship. Those born after 1987 must have an Indian parent according to new laws. But that has raised questions of whether Indian nationality will loosen their identity and their commitment to the Dalai Lama's campaign for more Tibetan autonomy from China. Despite little progress, it remains a top priority, asserts Karten Sering, the head of the Residents Association in a Tibetan settlement in New Delhi.
Whenever we live free Tibet, what we call free Tibet protest or free Tibet in our mind, in our heart, that our land is there.
Taking Indian nationality means the refugees who have registration certificates must move out of Tibetan settlements. Sering personally does not feel the need to take Indian citizenship.
In India there is no any bar, there is no any restriction what do we call, to do anything what we want, you know.
But a younger generation is getting restless. They want access to bank loans, to establish routes and travel freely, rights that citizenship brings. An undergraduate student at Delhi University, 23-year-old Tenzin Palden, longs to get citizenship, although she's not eligible. She wants to give wings to her dreams, maybe to migrate, but without a passport, she is stuck.
I think if I go to America, I can do work, I can do job, I can study, I can do anything I want. They're like freedom, I guess. It will make our life easier, I guess.
But she agonizes over a decision that some think amounts to giving up on the idea of returning to the Tibetan homeland.
So going, I can say this is the moral issue, like inside us, not for all the people. I don't know what all things, but inside us we have this issue going, from my brain and my heart.
Those who have taken Indian nationality assert that they're not betraying the Tibetan struggle, but accept the reality that India is the only home they know. Anjana Pasricha for VOA News, New Delhi.
Repeats after me.
I, Uhuru Kenyatta.
Those words from Kenya's President Uhuru Kenyatta in November concluded an unusually drawn-out 2017 election season. After the country's August polls, in which Kenyatta was declared the winner over Raila Odinga, the Supreme Court annulled the presidential election, citing irregularities in the transmission of election results.
The presidential election held on 8th August 2017 was not conducted in accordance with the Constitution and the applicable law, rendering the declared results invalid, null, and void.
So the court ordered the Electoral Commission, or IEBC, to hold a new poll within 60 days. After continued demands for IEBC reforms, Odinga decided to withdraw from the October 26th rerun election and urged his supporters to boycott the polls. Kenyatta was announced the winner of the second election. Odinga argued that Kenyatta lacked legitimacy given the low voter turnout. 2 petitions filed in the Supreme Court challenged the decision, but this time the court upheld the election results. Odinga responded by announcing the creation of a resistance movement and threatening to conduct his own inauguration. The Attorney General had this response.
Criminal law of the Republic of Kenya in Article 40 of the Penal Code provides or stipulates that sort of process is high treason. It is high treason in respect of the person so involved and any other person facilitating that process.
Many fear the installation of Odinga as an alternative president could increase tension in a country where more than 70 people were killed during election-related violence. Kenyans now wait to see if their newly elected officials will use 2018 to promote peace and fulfill their campaign promises. Jill Craig, VOA News, Nairobi.
This is what constitutes weather on the sun.
So the sun has these periodic eruptions where suddenly a dense part of the upper atmosphere will suddenly be ejected into interplanetary space.
There's particle radiation and there's electric and magnetic fields, and they're blowing from the sun to the earth at supersonic speeds.
They can penetrate into the electric distribution system.
These solar plasma physicists at the University of Michigan, with support from the National Science Foundation, are studying these storms because they have and will hit Earth with damaging force. The team wants to know how to predict these storms, but they're not there yet.
Oh, that's great. We don't know. There's a lot of competing theories on what triggers it.
Chip Manchester studies solar flares and those dramatic eruptions that are technically called coronal mass ejections.
We absolutely know for certain that it is magnetic energy that is the source of the flare energy and what's driving the coronal mass ejections. So this is all electromagnetic effects and charged particles interacting on an enormous scale.
Dan Welling's work is more concerned on what happens here when those storms hit Earth.
And when these currents flow very close to the earth, they can couple into anything on the ground that can conduct electricity. Power lines, pipelines, and these aren't currents that are power grid system specifically was not made to handle.
The team is trying to create weather models for the sun, just like meteorologists use on Earth, to give scientists a 5-day forecast for damaging storms.
5-day forecast is needed so that the government and the private industry, the satellite operators, the power grid companies can take necessary action to protect the national critical infrastructure.
The researchers can't predict storms yet, but just like earthquakes, these scientists are concerned about when the big one hits.
You know, it's similar to like earthquakes or something. There's lots and lots of little earth tremors that go on all the time. One that's on, Richter scale 9 is a very rare event, but they do happen. And so we have that case that the more extreme, the more rare they are. But certainly they have happened, and there's a distinct possibility within the next 10 to 20 years that we will have a major event.
It will happen, but hopefully this team will soon be able to give us plenty of time. Kevin Enix, VOA News.
On a recent Saturday, this room in Bloom Bars, a non-profit community arts center in Washington, was filled with energy from Baba Ross D and the excitement of his young audience. The program is called Harambee, which means all pulled together in Swahili. Baba Ross D, who has Trinidadian and Caribbean roots, created it more than 25 years ago.
For me, it's about culture competency. You can bring unity about with one word, and that word is Harambe. For me, the affinity to love and the affinity to want to see people together, it was something that naturally gravitated to me. Give me that!
Baba Ross D, whose name means Father of Kings and Queens, preaches empathy and community inclusiveness through song and movement.
Now, there are children who can't say peace. They can't say the word, but they know how to pass it. After a series of time coming to Harambe and coming to the Harambe experience, they just don't practice it here. They practice it at home. They practice it in the community. They practice it in the neighborhood.
Matt Dull has brought his son Max to the program for 3 years.
Max uses Baba Rosti as a reference point in many of our everyday activity. In his day life at his daycare is is a good sharer. I think he learned it here.
The entertainer is a former college basketball player who holds a degree in criminal justice and worked as a juvenile corrections officer. That experience helped make him aware of the importance of early childhood development and led him to start the Harambee program.
That is the most important move I've ever made, is to see where I could fit in to be able to help dismantle the create of the prison pipeline in a way where I can also be of an impact for our future, to let them study war no more.
Growing up in a musical family, he learned to play a variety of instruments, including the drum.
The djembe drum from West Africa is a percussion instrument that I find resonates with my heartbeat, and it gives me a chance to, when I provide my service delivery, it gives me a chance to connect with the heartbeat of the audience, because that is the power of the drum to bring us all together as one.
Baba Ross D, whose given name is Darren Campbell, hopes the children can learn compassionate communications and become peace ambassadors, peacekeepers, and peacemakers. For producer June So, I'm Carol Pearson, VOA News, Washington.
To be here today. Haley presented what she said is undeniable and concrete evidence Iran is arming Houthi rebels in Yemen.
All of these weapons include parts made in Iran, some by Iran's government-run defense industry. All are proof that Iran is defying the international community, and not just one time. This evidence demonstrates a pattern of behavior in which Iran sows conflict and extremism in direct violation of UN Security Council resolutions.
She said the United States would invite Congress and members of the UN Security Council to inspect the debris recovered by the Saudis on their territory. The Saudi-led coalition has been conducting airstrikes on Houthi rebels in Yemen for nearly 4 years after they ousted the country's legitimate president. The coalition has also maintained a lengthy blockade on Yemen's air and seaports, hindering the delivery of humanitarian aid to millions of starving civilians and putting the country at risk of widespread famine. Haley welcomed a report from UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, which focuses on Iran's implementation of the 2015 nuclear deal. While it found Iran in compliance with the deal, it also included detailed information provided by several countries on weapons they have seized in or near Yemen that may have been headed to the rebels from Iran. But the report drew no firm conclusions about the origins of the missiles. Iran's foreign minister took to Twitter to denounce the U.S. allegations, and a statement from Iran's UN mission dismissed them as unfounded and at the same time irresponsible, provocative, and destructive. Haley said the Trump administration would build a coalition to push back against Iran's bad behavior.
We're not going to sit back and not watch this. We are going to turn around and not only be aggressive about it, we're going to be forceful about it, and we're going to let the international community know what a threat this actually is.
She said the president would work with Congress and she would seek support in the UN Security Council to address the Iranian threat. Margaret Bashir, VOA News, the United Nations.
Opioid overdoses killed more than 64,000 Americans in 2016. In October, President Donald Trump declared it a national public health emergency, outlining steps such as researching non-addictive painkillers, opioid awareness programs, and a crackdown on illegal drugs entering the country from China and across the U.S. southern border with Mexico.
This administration refuses to ignore the problem. The United States will no longer turn the other way or sweep this issue under the rug. That is why President Trump has made a commitment to fight the opioid epidemic that has destroyed the lives of so many individuals and families throughout our country.
Thursday's agreement between the U.S. and Mexico calls for information sharing on both sides of the border to disrupt the lethal activity of so-called transcontinental criminal organizations.
Miles de Mexicanos. Thousands of Americans die due to overdoses. Thousands of Mexicans die due to the violence generated by illegal drug trafficking. And we will only be able to solve this problem by working together.
The two countries signed a memorandum of cooperation to provide Mexico with a U.S. criminal history of repatriated Mexicans.
The agreement we will sign today will transition to a biometric-based platform so that ICE can share biometric data, notice of more than 350 conviction codes, and any known gang affiliations with our Mexican counterparts and partners.
Asked if President Trump's proposed border wall and his threats to pull out of the NAFTA trade agreement impaired security cooperation, Mexican officials said they would always work with the U.S. to help save lives on both sides of the border. Cindy Sain, VOA News, the State Department.